Alright, it's the holiday season, and you just bought your PlayStation 5 with the Order 1886 bundle. Wait a minute. This isn't 2015. Order 1886 didn't really do anything. It was a launch title-ish. It came out within the same year as PlayStation 4, and they even bundled it. But, alas, it did not sell well. It only sold 1.6 million copies and currently sits with a Metacritic rating. Are we getting this new sequel for The Order 1886? Yes, says NeoGAF poster OsirisBlack. Can we trust him? Well, he did nail a majority of the details when the PS4 Pro launched earlier this console generation. And he says the game will be on both PlayStation and Xbox. He says there is a gameplay trailer that shows a man with a shoulder-mounted light device surveying a dark room, then firing on and fleeing from a yellow-eyed, many-armed creature. The monster taunts him from behind the door, saying, "I found you." Then the title hits, roll credits. He claims that what he saw was gameplay and not a cutscene. Well, sounds to me like either this is true, and somehow he is the only person to see this gameplay, or he might have dropped a lot of acid one night before going to bed. Unfortunately, we won't know for a little while, and hopefully it's actually the gameplay trailer, but we'll see. Much like the original author of the article that I found on Games Radar, Connor Sheridan says he is very skeptical, and I'm very, very skeptical about this. But this does butt right up against that line of too good to be true, yet still believable. It really walks that fine line there. So who knows what we're going to get here. I'm actually a little personally shocked that Ready at Dawn is going to try to make this sequel happen, considering the previously mentioned poor sales and poor critical review of this game. As one Yahtzee Croshaw said, that console exclusives mean you no longer have to try because there's no competition. So it looks pretty, but plays kind of crappy, and the story's uninspired, and it's kind of bland. That's kind of where I stand on this one too. Unfortunately, the setup was actually really good. The idea, it had promise. Steampunk London, werewolves, Knights of the Round Table, employed by the Queen herself. On paper, this sounds like a blast. But, as Kirk Hamilton wrote on one review of Kotaku, it's a brief, drab adventure, and if it managed a single new gameplay idea over the course of its runtime, I didn't catch it. The Order 1886 is one of the most depressing games I've played in a while. I'd say that accurately sums it up with the lack of new ideas, where it's got a pretty coat of paint, it looks like a brand new car, but that Lamborghini actually has the inner workings of a Honda Civic. So it looks good, runs like crap. As I've said many times before, no one wants to deliver a flop. No one ever really wants to fail at making a game, fail at putting out a product. Your name's on it. You've put many long hours into this. And as Hamilton also wrote, the best I can say is that its premise is just novel enough to feel wasted. And that's how I feel about the game as well. I think that whether it was Ready at Dawn or publisher interference, somebody kind of hacked this to bits and was really hoping that it would catch on and that they could sell extra DLC, that they could give you more story through the DLC, that they could maybe sequel bait you. They would try to squeeze extra money out of you somehow. And in cutting out certain chunks of the story, certain areas, and just walling off sections, they turned what could have been a good game into a pile of moldy garbage. I won't even say flaming garbage, because sometimes flaming garbage is fun to play. Moldy, half-spoiled food is gross, uninspired, but a flaming dumpster fire, that can be fun to play. I'll happily wait to see what comes out and see what the critics say. I'm definitely, if this is true, I'm not going to pre-order The Order 1886 2, Electric Boogaloo, but who knows, maybe the sequel will actually be fun. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I want to know, did you play this game? What did you think about it? Did you find the levels and everything else uninspired? Or did you enjoy it? I'd love to know, so please sound off in the comments. And the disappointment train keeps on rolling and adds another cart. This time it's in the form of Iron Man VR. you'll have to wait another month to suit up for this legend, wait for it, dairy outing. In a tweet from the official Camouflage Twitter account, the company stated, "In order to deliver our vision and meet the high expectations of our amazing community, we've made the difficult decision to move Marvel's Iron Man VR to May 15th, 2020 release. We truly appreciate your patience and understanding. You'll be hearing from us soon again." I guess this is something we're going to have to deal with. US Gamer points out that this slot is now being filled. This is where the Marvel's Avengers game that was moved to mid-September was originally supposed to be released. I think this is a good fit. We're still going to get a new Marvel game overall. However, we're not going to be able to play the sweet Marvel's Avenger game. And let's face it, Iron Man VR is going to be a limited selection here. Some of those who had the chance to play this demo at E3 2019 said it felt like the vertical slices of 2009 era of E3. It felt more like what the game could be than what actually was in the game and what they had ready and what they had going right then and there. I think it helps to have a vertical slice like this that's ready to go for an E3 demo, but I think it's important to let those who are demoing it and let the public know that this is a vertical slice and this may not be what's actually going to come out whenever the game is released. I think this would definitely help with a lot of the backlash that a lot of the games have seen. I mean, look at what CD Projekt Red did with that controversy of The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. They had this beautiful gameplay trailer. It was immaculate. And then once you compared that gameplay trailer side by side to what you got, it didn't line up. It looked like there was a graphical downgrade. Now, there are a whole bunch of different reasons as to why this could have been like that. One of them being that the game ended up being so large that they had to down-res the graphics in order to fit the entire map and everything in there. At the time, this is when discs for games were still popular. You could still play your game on a disc and downloading was at a minimal. Now with everybody downloading everything, whether you have a physical copy of the disc or you buy a digital download, you're still having to download a large chunk of file. So, unfortunately for CD Projekt Red, that's what happened. I think that's kind of what they're going with the Cyberpunk. I'm hoping that what's going to happen there is that nothing will look down-res compared to gameplay trailers. Now, Iron Man VR is a great fit. I've always thought since way back in 2008 when Robert Downey Jr. first created his second gen, the Mark II armor, I always thought it would make a great VR game. Clearly in 2008, that was not going to happen. 2008 is the technology was just not there. Things were going great. Things were moving along, but we didn't have the computer power to be able to miniaturize, to put into a VR headset to make it affordable for the mass public. Yes, you could do VR if you want to pay thousands of dollars, but now look at the Valve Index. It's $1,000. A lot of money, don't get me wrong. But it is still the top of the line VR is $1,000. I think that's relatively cheap. I think that's an expensive purchase, but relatively, I think it's a great experience, so not that bad. Now, PlayStation VR, a couple $100, not the same high quality, but still a ton of fun. I think you can have a blast with that. My bet is that PSVR is really banking on the fact, hopefully, this is the killer app that PSVR needs to ship more units. Right now, there's only about 1.5 million units out there in use, give or take. And I think that a game like Iron Man, a Marvel game that has the Marvel branding behind it, everybody loves Marvel, everybody loves Iron Man. Look at you, you put this headset on and you are Iron Man, you are Tony Stark. You get to fly around and use your lasers, use your thrusters, fly around and have fun. I think this will be the way that PlayStation ships more units and VR becomes a more normal experience. Look at the success that Half-Life Alyx has had for the Valve Index, and Half-Life Alyx has only been announced. Technically, still coming out in March sometime. I think it's going to be delayed a little bit so they can get the hardware back in stock so more people can buy it and enjoy the game. Just when you thought loot boxes were out of the news cycle, that everybody had forgotten about loot boxes, the NHS mental health director, Claire Murdoch, is shoving these loot boxes right back into the spotlight. At this time, she's calling for gaming companies to crack down on gambling addiction risks by banning these lucrative loot boxes. Let's face it, even though FIFA and Madden don't call them loot boxes, they have their player packs, they're loot boxes, and they make a ton of money off of them, with people trying to get whatever their favorite player is, whatever the best player is for their ultimate team. At least Madden calls it the ultimate team. I'm not sure what FIFA calls it, but same idea, trying to make your all-star team. Ms. Murdoch warns that the loot boxes are setting kids up for gambling addictions. And I would agree with that. There is that level of chance that you don't know what you're going to get, and you are like, well, just one more time. Just one more. I can get it just one more time. Unlike the totally healthy version of just one more turn in Civ 6, or really the entire civilization, that's fine because they just take your $60 right off the bat and call it a day. Or if you buy a special edition, it's 90, 100, whatever it is. And that's it. There's no loot boxes. This, with the loot boxes, people are spending crazy amounts of money. To combat this, the NHS is opening a new treatment center for kids, along with 14 other gambling addiction clinics. The statement from the mental health director, Murdoch, said, frankly, no company should be setting kids up for addiction by teaching them to gamble on the content of these loot boxes. No firm should sell to children loot box games with this element of chance. So yes, those sales should end. How many times have we seen a news article that points out that kids or even adults are spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on mobile apps that you can buy things, buy new skins, buy in-game currency to speed up a process, buy Madden players, buy FIFA players, buy NBA players. I mean, NBA 2K20 literally had a slot machine. They weren't even disguising the fact that it was a loot box trying to get around into some loophole. They had a damn slot machine. We've even seen EA, the creators of The Simpsons Tapped Out, make reference to this. Homer buys a whole bunch of in-game currency, and then he says,
I spent $1,000? Oh well, I'll just tell them that my kid did that.
Absolutely ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. A report from the Royal Society of Public Health found that over half of young people believe that playing video games leads to a gambling addiction. Now, the way they worded it made the people surveyed think about loot boxes and brought up very popular games that do have loot box elements to them, including Fortnite. They defined young people in this study as those aged 11 to 24. So a little bit with these loot box gambling mechanics and all that, things get a little bit of a gray area here. Now the ESRB in North America has their rating system where M means mature, which means if you are under the age of 17, you should not be playing this game. Now the equivalent rating for our European counterparts is PEGI 18. Now, theoretically, minors should not be playing games like Grand Theft Auto, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, games along those lines with a lot of violence, a lot of adult themes, mature themes, where they might not understand what's going on, or it can leave a bad impression. Minors should not be playing these games, and the gray spot kind of comes in here. In the United States, you have to be 21 and older to gamble, while in the UK, it's 18. Gets a little bit gray there. Maybe there needs to be a new rating system in the US, who knows? The report goes on to say that 86% of the respondents let their kids play games that are rated PEGI 18. Now, these are probably the same people who would absolutely flip out if their teacher at school showed them a rated R movie. In my opinion, there's not much of a difference there. As long as you're making a similar comparison of the same type of movie with the same type of game, I think that those parents would still freak out if they saw something like Goodfellas and Grand Theft Auto. I think they would absolutely freak out, but yet they play Grand Theft Auto. While they do not specifically mention by name Grand Theft Auto Online, they allude to a game that has recently opened a video game casino where players can play blackjack and slots. Now, you can pay real money to get in-game currency to spend at the casino, and you could either lose it all, win it, break even, just like real life. However, unlike real life, you cannot cash out any chips for real life currency. You can use that for in-game currency and buy different things in the game. This is where a loophole in the European law comes in. Because they're not able to get any financial gain back, it's technically not gambling. Even though, let's face it, it's still gambling. I think a lot of the differences we see here between allowing kids to play mature games but not see an R movie is a generational shift. I think this is a problem that most of the parents did not grow up with playing video games. They did not have an ESRB rating system. That wasn't implemented until 1994. So those people who kind of grew up with video games, who have been affected and influenced by the rating system, are just now having kids. And let's face it, 2-year-olds aren't really playing video games. Technically, they might be on an iPad playing some kind of goofy color tapping game. Technically a video game, but let's face it, that is not actually what's going on. That's not what we're talking about here. So the ESRB, as I mentioned, was created in 1994 to help with video game rating systems after some controversies surrounding games like Street Fighter and Doom. However, you can compare that to the MPAA, which was founded in 1922, that had their different standards and practices. They followed these practices from 1922 all the way until 1968, when we saw the formation of a rating system that we're familiar with today that has remained largely unchanged except for a few little things. The introduction of the PG-13 rating system came around in the mid-1980s, and X was changed to NC-17. I know my parents did not have a single clue of what was going on with the video game rating system. Yes, there was that little box in the corner, but they didn't really pay too much attention to it. They understand the system of what PG, what G, what an R movie is. They don't quite understand what a mature game is. What does mature mean? Well, you could read the box and see that it says 17 plus, but they don't quite understand. They haven't quite figured that out, and nor should they really understand it. They didn't have video games when my parents were growing up. So I know that my generation, my age that's having kids, really has a better understanding of this, and I think a lot of the issues that we're seeing now will be resolved with people who just understand it better. Now, the NHS is also pushing for better education to parents so that they can help guide their kids to age-appropriate games. Holy macaroni, it's the middle of the video. I'm here to let you know that we have a subscribe button, and if you'd go ahead and hit that along with the bell for notifications, I'd greatly appreciate it. And now, without further ado, here's the rest of your video. Left 4 Dead 3. Is it real? Where did this rumor come from? And why did it pop up now? Well, this rumor first surfaced on December 8th when Tyler McVicker tweeted, "Left 4 Dead VR is real. The Game Awards is in a few days. Get your minds ready. It's about to blow." McVicker goes into detail on his information that he discovered and posted to a YouTube channel, Valve News Network, VNN. He says he found a string of terms in some VR-related software. These terms include coach, biker, Jimmy, riot control, non-vet, and more. He says that these are clear references to the Left 4 Dead series. This article was originally posted on the website VR Scout. Now, I'm sure that a bunch of different games use things like coach, biker, Jimmy, riot control, non-vet. I'm sure this isn't the only game that wants to use these terms, and yes, they are in the Left 4 Dead series. However, these aren't exclusive words or terms for any one specific series. Now, these terms are not specific to any one particular series, even though they were used in the Left 4 Dead series. No offense to the VR Scout, but how did this get so much traction? It's not like they're IGN or Games Radar or one of the other popular publications. I think that they do some good stuff. I don't read all that much because I'm not into VR all that much, and I only hit the popular things that happen in VR, like Half-Life Alyx and the Iron Man delay. This increase in credibility came from one person. This person is the China president of HTC Vive, Alvin Wang Graylin, where he posted a few slides from a presentation he made at the Golden V Awards in China. In this presentation, he makes reference to Left 4 Dead 3. These were posted January 17th at 7:15 a.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time. The title of the slide that had this Left 4 Dead 3 rumor on it was 2020 VR Trends. Specifically, the line reads, Valve Half-Life Alyx, Left 4 Dead 3 will drive consumer and AAA studio interest. 9 hours later, he tweets that this is merely personal speculation and not the view of HTC Vive. I don't know about you, but the presentation that he gave with the slides that he posted online, it did not seem like he was merely speculating on behalf of himself. It sounded like he knew that Left 4 Dead 3 was coming, especially when it was lumped in with Half-Life Alyx, a game we know that is coming out in March. This, quote, speculation was driven by the VR Scout article. He shared this link back on December 11th, 2019, via Twitter, giving this VR Scout article a whole bunch of credibility. He even tweeted the editor of the publication. So clearly he thought that this was happening. He had this intuition that Left 4 Dead 3 is coming and that it is going to be a VR title. Whether or not it was actually called Left 4 Dead 3, he thought that this was coming, and being in the position he is, I would lead anyone to believe that there was some kind of insider information. He had some little kernel of knowledge that we all wanted. This article exposed it, and he was able to talk about it in vague terms. Now, for 5 hours after this was posted, a bunch of speculation was swirling around this, and at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, GamesRadar posts in an article that was talking about the Left 4 Dead 3. They stated that a new batch of concept art allegedly taken from an old version of Left 4 Dead 3 was out there. It was floating around on the internet, that there was this batch of concept art that was from a scrapped version of the game. Is this another Batman Arkham Crisis or new Batman game, whatever you want to call it? Is this another one of those situations? The article goes on to say that it's worth noting that this leak should be taken with a fair amount of salt. So don't get too far into this. Don't believe too much of this. According to the article, the artwork was created by Ted Backman back in 2012 when he was a concept artist for Left 4 Dead 3. All this information that GamesRadar posted on came from VNN. VNN claims that they heard there were a few major meetings that took place almost immediately after the trailer for Half-Life Alyx dropped that essentially caused everybody internally at Valve to change everything about their future plans for virtual reality, public communications, and game development in general. So everything was at Valve after Half-Life Alyx dropped. Everybody lost their minds. And then everyone at Valve goes, oh my god, we have this killer app. We have this thing. Scrap everything else we're doing. We need to get down to Half-Life and Left 4 Dead 3. That makes absolutely no sense. Now, granted, yes, Half-Life Alyx, that trailer, everybody did lose their minds. It was fantastic. Have they changed a little bit of their future plans regarding this franchise and maybe VR titles? Probably. They'd be dumb not to. But to completely change everything in VR, everything in the way they communicate publicly, and everything in their development cycle, that's just bananas. That does not make sense. That is not good business practice there. Then finally, 1 hour later, at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time, IGN reached out to Valve for a comment on this rumor. Valve did respond to this request, and here's their full quote. We've seen rumors to this effect for the last couple months. We did briefly explore some Left 4 Dead next-gen opportunities a few years ago, but we're absolutely not working on any Left 4 Dead related things now, and haven't for years. It's clear some people are having fun creating misinformation to spin up the community and other outlets. Unfortunately, for now, the new Left 4 Dead game is not something we're working on. Pretty straightforward, pretty clear that, yes, they did look into it because Left 4 Dead 1 was a great game. Left 4 Dead 2 was a pretty good sequel. Why would you not look into a third game when the first two sold so well, performed well, and were critically, I wouldn't say praised, but they held up very well. It would make perfect sense for them to at least explore the idea of a Left 4 Dead 3. An hour after this, at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time, GamesRadar updated the article stating that you were right to take the original one with a healthy dose of skepticism. PC Gamer has a great timeline write-up of everything that has happened here, starting with the Golden V Awards. So you can find that link in the description below if you want to read more about this. I know a lot of people want a new Left 4 Dead game. The recent Steam sale and the timing of this hearsay definitely did not help with the rumors. But what do you think? Would you play another Left 4 Dead game? Let me know in the comments below. If you like that video, give us a big ol' thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and hit that bell for some notifications.